So yeah, my name is Xavier. I work for Broadpeak. We're a technology company. I run business development in the company, and I basically work with partners, try and look ahead and see what trends are happening in the market with a view to, of course, adapt product and solutions linked to that. The transition to IP is an important topic for us. This is something we started looking at for a few years ago, and we got involved with the DTG actually. So Richard's organization, we joined about a year ago, 9 months ago, something like this, with a view to understand a little bit more behind the technology, what needs to happen. I'll talk a little bit about the solutions and how large streaming events are being delivered today, what it means from a technical standpoint. But I would say this is probably the easier part. We have the solutions, we know what needs to happen. The question is, how do we make this happen? So I work with Richard on the distribution group at the DTG, and that's something we try and push forward. We have, I think, some interesting members, some interesting topics, and you're very welcome to get involved if you want. Okay, so capacity challenge. This is a picture I've used before, so some of you may have seen it before, but I think it's always a good picture. A picture is worth 1,000 words, like we say. I'm a big fan of Formula One, and this is two pictures of the same place, Baku in Azerbaijan. On the left side, this is Baku on a normal day, so 16 lanes of traffic trying to squeeze into, I think, 6 or 7. It doesn't work very well, lots of delays. If this was a network, you would have jitter, you would have packet loss, you would have high latency. So this is a bad example. And on the right, this is an F1 weekend. So that was just, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago in Baku. The picture is older than that. But this is the reality. This is what happens if you manage the traffic, if you engineer for a high-speed delivery. You can deliver high volumes of traffic through your network, and you can basically squeeze demanding traffic. Live traffic is demanding because everybody wants to watch the same content at the same time through the network, and you can deliver this with the right quality of experience, right? And we think this is the key of the problem here. How do we squeeze lots of F1s into the pipes that we have without creating the traffic jams? Okay. So the challenge is scalability. Here we go. I'm going to run you through 3 projects that we've done with customers to give you an idea of the scale and to give you an idea of where we are. This one is interesting. This is the Indian Premier League, so the cricket competition in India 2025. It's an interesting event because it's mixed broadcast and streaming. And if you look at the numbers, on streaming, it's 55 million users that watch at peak time the event. On television, it's 3 times more, 165 million. So you can see streaming is growing, but it's not yet at the scale of television. But at our scale, 55 million streams is huge, right? Just to put it into context, we're looking at about 100 terabits per second of capacity, something that the British networks will not be able to handle today. This is a vast amount of traffic. What is interesting with India as well is 55 million streams for 100 terabits per second. That's quite a low bitrate. That's about 1.8 to 2 megabits per second. Why? Because streaming is also consumed on smaller screen, right? And you have a lot of people watching the cricket on the go on smaller screen that doesn't require high bitrates. Okay, so the interesting thing with Reliance, a very large operator, fixed networks and mobile network in India, this is a lot of traffic to be delivered through the network, and they wanted to optimize this. So they built their own CDN on their own network using some of our technology, and we can talk about it offline a little bit. What I wanted to say here is it's a mixed approach, right? So from their network, they can deliver their own content using their CDN, and outside their network, they rely on global CDN. So they will work with the Akamai, the Fastly of this world to deliver the content. What is interesting here for them is the ability to reduce the cost. You can think of it if you deliver. So with Geo, I think it was about 5 to 6 million streams on their network, on net. Deliver that through your network, there's still tens of terabits per second of traffic that has to be delivered. So if you don't do that efficiently, you will have high costs of ferrying of this traffic through the network, right? So what we've done with them is basically build a CDN and enable them to better deliver their streams through the network. Okay, I won't go into any of the details, but this is the idea, right? How do we make this work? It's about having the right distribution points through the network so you can avoid bottlenecks, you can avoid the Baku picture at the front. That's the idea. Okay? Yeah, probably leave it here. What is interesting also is they're growing, right? So last year was about 70 terabits per second, this year 100 terabits per second. The transition to more streaming and less broadcast is happening also for the event. So we'll see where IPL 2026 is, but we expect again a jump in the streams next year. So this is CDN. CDN is obviously with unicast distribution, where you send one stream per user. At Broadpeak, we also have a use case when we leverage multicasts, so IP multicast in operators network. This is when you send once in the network, and then your network does the distribution across the multiple customers. This is an example with Telecom Italia. I could have used BT here, we'll talk about it this afternoon, but this is Telecom Italia a few years ago. They scaled their live TV proposition, so this is distributing their own TV service to the set-top boxes, to Android TV set-top boxes, about 3 million users in Italy. And they leverage multicast for that, so they basically package a stream in a head end in a network. On the left, they use IP multicast to distribute this stream across the network, and then within the home, they have a little bit of software that reverses the process, takes multicast in and then serves unicast out to the devices. It's all based on streaming formats on ABR, so that's why we call this solution multicast ABR, the combination of IP multicast with streaming formats. And this is something that's been working for many years. They do mostly the sports events, so when they have big spikes of demand on the network for the Olympics, some of the tennis opens, and that's been working very well for Telecom Italia. What's been interesting here is this has been also open to DAZN, so you may have seen DAZN a few years ago getting the rights of the football in Italy. High peaks of traffic also at DAZN. I think it was 6.5 billion streams. I'll probably look at Robin with your previous hat, you know. So this is, you know, high for a network the size of Italy, and the likes of DAZN have been able to also leverage that distribution through Telecom Italia's network with an improvement of the quality of experience, right? So when we talk about TV, one thing that is important is TV has to behave like TV. If I change channel, I expect the channel to change quickly. I don't want my TV to rebuffer. And to deliver this level of quality, typically multicast can be a very good tool, right? Because it has better scaling properties through the network, and it gives you at the end a better quality of experience for the user. Okay, so this has been working for several years. DAZN also uses this in over network Spain with Orange, and something that, you know, is working well in the industry. My last slide, and we touched already a little bit about it. Scaling is great, and, you know, we see obviously a lot of demand for better distribution, whether it's unicast or multicast. But where we started to see a lot more is also demand for better monetization, right? So something that at Broadpeak we've been doing is working closely with TF1, so the main private broadcaster in France. They face a bit of a challenge, like many broadcasters. The viewing of live linear channels is decreasing. So on IPTV it's about flat, on DTT is decreasing. And they wanted to become more interesting for the younger generation. So they launched their own direct-to-consumer service, TF1 Plus, with a view to basically take control over the distribution of their content, so not relying on DTT networks, not relying on telco with IPTV distribution, and basically increase their ad revenue. Right? The idea behind is if I have a direct-to-consumer distribution, I can do better personalization, and I can, at the end of the day, target adverts better and make more money with my content. Right? So this has been an interesting conversation with TF1. They launched this in 2024. It's, you know, TF1 is a big advertising house. They make 1.6 billion euro a year on advertising, so they know something about advertising. And this direct-to-consumer, what they call the digital advertising, has been a source of growth for them. They found 146 million euros of revenues based on this targeted advertising solution, and it's a growth of about 40% on digital. Right? So this is where most of the broadcasters are heading, seeing their traditional revenues linked to broadcast going down, but then digital going up with better targeting and new ways of doing advertising. So for us, this is important. Scaling is one thing, but monetizing, on the other hand, is really important. And this also introduced new models that I think we're going to see more and more. They may be regulated, to your point, Richard, but we're going to see more and more. Things like L banners, where you squeeze the screen and you start putting adverts in an L shape around the program. And then also shoppable ads, where you basically link e-commerce with TV, where you're able to buy your product by clicking on the remote. I'm interested in this new pair of shoes, click, and I get an email or I get a link to buy it later. Or the latest sort of iteration we're trying to work on now is the click to cart. So if you do your weekly Tesco deliveries, there's an advert for, I don't know, promotion for wine, buy 2, get 1 free, right? For this wine that you like, you click on it and it gets added to your cart, and next time you check out for your weekly groceries, this is already in your basket, right? So there are interesting things to do here. We're learning, I would say. There's still a lot to do, and yeah, that's what you get when working with a scale and advertising. And that's me.